I'm so happy to fill your rage bait. Please. Please. Yeah. Hello. How are you doing? Good. I'm so glad. I hope you responded to that as if we were sitting down and having an actual conversation, because that's what I expect. Anyways, I am writing to writing to you today. Today I have made this video. It's a little bit late. I should have made this video on Thursday, but because today is Valentine's Day, I figured that I would make a video just for the girlies, or the women out there in the world who are interested in evaluating their selves and thinking deeply about things. So please, please, please come, women, come. Women, honestly, men, you're welcome. You're welcome to sit in on this one. There's no closed. I have an open door policy. There's no closed doors here. However, your opinions let's just let them bounce around in those pretty little heads. Yeah, I think that's good. If you feel like leaving a comment, go ahead, because I'd love the engagement. But try to keep it positive. Let's keep it positive. And maybe send this video to a woman that you know and ask her opinion, and she can leave a comment. So basically, the concept of this video today is how we speak about other people, or commonly known, I guess, in the world as gossip, which, as you know, if you were raised as I was Christian, then gossip is one of the most frowned upon things in a society. Today, though, I raised the question if gossip is a sin, if gossip is something a moral failing, something to be eradicated from society, or if gossip indeed has its roots and power in keeping people and communities safe. Let's evaluate. My name is Michaela, and I am a current U.S. traveler. I have been boot scooting my way across the United States since October. Yeah, since October. I didn't look at anything just then. I just had to check the calendar in my mind. Yeah, so I've been traveling. I write. Every Sunday, I post some of my writings. Recently, I've been on this little poetry free verse kind of thing. For a little bit there, it was some essays. It kind of just depends on what I'm feeling that week. But I post some writings on YouTube. I've been really bad about posting them on Substack, but I will be getting better. I promise. So if you follow my Substack, I promise that there will be writings there soon. Yes. And I am a deep thinker on the ways that the world is and the ways that the world could be. So if you like any of those things, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because I've got 40 subscribers right now and would love to see that number increase. Please give me more attention. Listen to my stuff. I don't know. That's about it. That's all I need. That's all I'm asking for. I just, we all love attention, and I would also like some. So let's do that. Those are the introductory bits to this video. Again, if you're a man and you are still here, I am grateful for you for wanting to see someone else's perspective. Truly, truly grateful. I hope that's why you've stayed. If not, I hope that's why you continue to stay, is to see my perspective and to listen to some stories. Because today I have stories on why I believe that, or why I've come to believe, why I am redefining my understanding and my belief on why it is important to to gossip. Yeah. Never thought I'd say that one. So I do want to make some necessary clarifications first. When I say gossip, I don't mean speaking badly about others to tear them down or to make them feel bad or to spread rumors. I do mean this concept of sharing information. That is what I mean. I think sometimes oftentimes morality isn't black and white. It's this gray concept, this gray area of interpretation. And I think often a tool can be used for destructive purposes or constructive purposes. For an example, if I take a hammer to some nails and wood, that is very constructive. That is the intended purpose of a hammer. However, if I take that same hammer and I destroy a prized vase, for example, that is a destructive use of a neutral tool. So today my proposition is that speaking about others, sharing information in ways that informs the people around us is a constructive use of a neutral tool. Now, I'm not really sure what the what the words would be here, what the best wordage here would be. So you might hear me use the word gossip negatively. You might hear me use it to refer to this kind of neutral exchange of information. I'm going to try to limit myself to using the word gossip negatively. Gossip is the negative connotation that we have of sharing information. But at the same time, I might slip. So just so you are aware, use your critical listening skills and deduce for yourself. However, I do want to say that in my experience in the world, this concept of viewing gossip as a moral failure isn't so clearly defined as I am trying to define it today. It is very, 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 very vague, this concept, and mostly tends to pop up in spaces where there are very heavy and delineated patterns of authority and hierarchy. So I think today one of those major distinctions that I'm going to make is that gossip comes up and becomes a problem to authority in a very specific way. As a person who grew up in the Christian church, speaking about the private actions of other people that might have been harmful to other members of the community, which is kind of the way in which gossip is used, right? If you're like, there have been a lot of abuse. I've seen a lot of abuse in the church in my time. My dad's a pastor. I've seen it all. I've seen it all. And speaking about others in the community in a way that is truthful and also very endangering or threatening to the existing power structures is one of the most heavily ways or one of the biggest ways that I've seen the prohibition of gossip, or the prohibition of it in the neutral sense of this exchange of information, this exchange of information denigrated as gossip. It's in these hierarchical and authoritarian structures is one of the biggest places that I've seen gossip be demonized or negatively moralized. This tool that all of us can partake in and all of us can use for positive aims and negative aims, hurtful aims, harmful aims, and helpful aims, is absolutely a tool that it's kind of a like master's house, master's tools kind of concept. It's one of those things that can be used to either maintain the structures that be or to tear them down. And so if I have become, I think, in my space, in my time traveling, in my time experiencing different communities, living in different places, I have become quite skeptical of how different communities involve themselves in the rumor mill, or how different communities allow for the facilitation of dissent. How is gossip the only way that dissent is allowed to be spread? That differing opinions are allowed to be shared? If so, do you allow that? Or is it just no gossip, no speaking about others, no sharing information that you shouldn't have? So I think it is incredibly important, specifically in female spaces, because I do think that gossip is also one of those moral failings that is incredibly gendered. That I don't see a lot of men interested in breaking another man down for gossiping. I don't usually see that. In my time growing up in the church, I never saw gossiping. We never had gossiping conversations in mixed spaces. It was always in incredibly gendered, separated spaces. So it is, to me, one of those moral failings that a lot of larger communities in our society like to place the burden of weight on the backs of women. These are, again, just my perspectives. If you have further perspectives, I would love to hear them. Please share. Please put a message in the comments. I would love to hear your perspectives on this conversation, because I do not have the end authority, and I recognize that. So if you're coming at me for my ideas, then also shush, but leave a comment and like the video, maybe, or subscribe perhaps, because if you get such a kick out of disliking things that someone random on the internet says, then I'm certain to make more videos that you will dislike. And you can rage watch them, and that will make me feel good, but it will also make you feel good, apparently. And then you can leave the comment, and then you can, but if you subscribe, then it'll let you know. And so then you can always watch the video, and you won't have to worry about missing something that would make you unnecessarily angry and being able to respond to it. So yeah, go ahead and do that. That would be great. I'm so happy to fill your rage bait. Please. Yeah. So anyways, I've been at this, I've been on this platform, Workaway. And one of the things about Workaway is like you get to go see a bunch of different communities, live in some different places, live with families, whatever. And I have experienced communities where there is a rule of no gossip. However, I've also experienced, and this also includes my time growing up as a pastor's kid, no gossiping. There was none allowed. It wasn't tolerated. Now, I also have experienced, specifically in my time traveling, that there is a moment when you arrive in a new place where it is helpful to learn the rules of the game. Right? So the kind of the metaphor that I like to use here is if I'm playing not a video game, but like a board game. If I'm playing a board game and I'm playing with 4 other people, all 4 of those people, it's one of those really, really complex ones. All 4 of those other people know how to play the game. I'm just figuring it out. Maybe I read the instructions. I'm trying to figure out the rules of the new place. And now to apply this metaphor directly before I'm done with it. So it's still cooking. But to apply this metaphor directly, this would be like learning the rules of a new environment, a new community. And that's kind of one of the tricks with traveling, is that you're constantly shifting the rules of engagement. The rules of the game are constantly moving, and you're learning different ways to play, and you're learning different orientations of the game, of different games. You're learning different games. And if you like to watch the world from a perspective of game theory, as I do, does anyone watch Predictive History? Because if you do, then I love you. Because I watched, anyways, forget about that. So, but if you enjoy watching the world from a perspective of game theory, as I do, then you understand that these games that we're playing are the interests of all of the individual players. And all of those individual players come together to create the rules of the game as they exist. And obviously, the players who exhibit more power have more influence on the rules. So in a hierarchical, authoritarian space, it is actually incredibly beneficial for a newcomer to have some form of gaining information as they attempt to navigate the space. Now, in terms of traveling, you might have like an introductory packet, or you might have like your little tour as you walk around the property or the space or whatever. And both of those are kind of, in this metaphor, similar to reading the instructions manual, or like reading the instructions on the board game, right? But at the same time, there's still things that the instructions can't communicate when you're playing a new game. And those are the things that I think that is the space where the importance of gossip, especially as a female traveler, especially as someone who is stepping into someone else's space, if you have this ability to be able to connect, or let's not even talk about traveling. Let's talk about a new job, right? Baristas know this well. You work at a new barista, you got to get a new job, you're a barista, maybe you've been a barista before, maybe you're just new, and you get your formal training, your formal initiation into the space, right? That's reading the instructions on the board game. Then you get your informal introduction into the space. And again, my baristas will know this. So all of the things that you learned in your official training of this is how you should do these things, these are the best practices, then as soon as you go on that first real shift, there is the senior barista, the older person who is showing you the actual ways in which you do things, the faster ways maybe, or the quick shortcuts you can take, or hey, if we're not doing anything at this moment, then we can go sit over there and play on our phones. And like, if you do it like this, then no one's going to know, you know, those secret little insider tips, right? That the boss or the trainer probably would prefer that you didn't know, right? We all know that. But at the same time, they're not there. And it's important to know how to best survive. And that's where those who have more experience in the space sharing their information is incredibly important. You want to know if you have like a creepy coworker or something, you know, like these things are incredibly important. So in this board game experience, I hope that none of you have had an experience where you're playing a new board game and no one explains those little tips to you, the theory or the strategy of how to win the game, how to best play the game. If you like make a mistake, they don't take advantage. I hope that we've never been in a game board situation where someone takes advantage of you for not knowing how to play the game correctly. It doesn't feel good to not know them. And it actually feels like someone is taking advantage of your naivete, of your ignorance in those moments. And so I think the key thing here, the thing that I've been noticing, the thing I've been running around in my head is that if there is a system that is okay with taking advantage of someone's inexperience in life, in a job, in a particular position, in spirituality, or in whatever, if there is a system that is okay with taking advantage of your experience, that system will inherently be uninterested in allowing other people to share their experience. So, for example, if you're traveling and you do work away and you come across a place that says that gossiping is absolutely prohibited, all right. Or a church, you're at a new church, or you're at a new job. And I feel like we've all know that it's like not kosher in a new job to not talk about your salary. Like, we're all going to talk, you know? And we're all going to talk because at this point we realize that information sharing is one of the ways to keep people aware of whether or not they're being exploited. Think about this. Where in your life is it important to share information with others for their own safety? And where is it important to keep quiet? What is that distinct difference between informing and denigrating in your spirit, in your soul? Where does that line exist? For me, I've realized that if I derive some form of pleasure from the exchange, some form of power, if I gain power from the exchange, or if I have some pleasure that I have information that they don't have, then I try to check what information I share. But if I find that in sharing this information, I'm actually empowering another person to make an informed decision, every single time I will share the information. And another important delineation for me is an asked question. Generally, if a question's asked, I think it deserves a response, and an honest response. So I tend to give honest responses in my spaces. And fuck anyone who says that gossip is bad, I guess, honestly. So those are my thoughts on this whole concept, and I appreciate you for listening to them. I will have a writing video that comes out tomorrow. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So let me know what you think about gossip. Is gossip a helpful tool in society? Is it a neutral tool in society? Is it a negative tool in society? Just let me know. All right. Appreciate it. Peace out.